Somewhere on the internet right now, a video is going viral. A smiling influencer holds up a small glass of golden liquid, tips it to their lips, and drinks. The comments flood in, thousands of them, a mix of horror, fascination, and true believers cheering them on. The caption reads, "Day 30 of urine therapy. My skin has never looked better. My energy is through the roof. Modern medicine doesn't want you to know about this." That video will be shared 500,000 times before the week is out. Welcome to the world of urine therapy, a practice with ancient roots, a passionate modern following, and a scientific reality that is far more dangerous than its advocates will ever tell you. This is not a fringe belief hiding in the darkest corners of the web. Urine therapy has amassed millions of followers across TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. Books promoting it have sold hundreds of thousands of copies. Wellness conferences dedicate entire panels to it. Practitioners charge significant sums to coach newcomers through what they call an awakening. In some communities, drinking your own urine, and in more extreme cases, injecting it, bathing in it, or applying it to wounds and eyes, is considered not just acceptable but spiritually transformative. Advocates call it liquid gold. They call it the body's own perfect medicine, a free cure that the pharmaceutical industry is desperate to suppress. And that framing is precisely what makes it so seductive, and so dangerous. Over the next 12 minutes, we are going to do something the urine therapy community actively discourages. We are going to look at the evidence. Real evidence. Peer-reviewed, replicated, scientifically rigorous evidence. We are going to trace the historical origins of this practice, examine the biological reality of what urine actually is and what it actually does inside the human body, and speak with the medical professionals who have watched patients abandon life-saving treatments in favor of drinking waste. We will also listen, fairly and without mockery, to the people who swear by it, because understanding why intelligent, thoughtful people adopt beliefs like this is just as important as understanding why those beliefs are wrong. The history of urine therapy stretches back thousands of years. Ancient Egyptian papyri reference medicinal applications of urine. Early Chinese and Indian texts describe its use. The Shivambu Kalpa Vidi, a section of a 15th century Hindu text called the Dhamma Tantra, is perhaps the most frequently cited historical endorsement of the practice, describing the drinking of one's own urine as a path to vitality and spiritual power. In 17th century Europe, urine was prescribed by physicians for conditions ranging from skin disease to plague. Even into the early 20th century, before modern pharmaceutical infrastructure was established, urine-derived compounds were occasionally studied in legitimate medical research. Advocates seize on this history as validation. If people have been doing this for thousands of years, they argue, there must be something to it. But history is not evidence of efficacy. History is also full of bloodletting, trepanation, and the prescription of arsenic as a tonic. The age of a belief tells us nothing about its truth. So what does the science actually say? Urine is a waste product. That sentence is not an opinion or a matter of perspective, it is a biological fact. Your kidneys are sophisticated filtration organs. Their entire purpose is to remove from your bloodstream the substances your body has already processed, used, or deemed surplus to requirements. The result of that filtration is urine, roughly 95% water, with the remaining 5% composed primarily of urea, creatinine, dissolved salts, ammonia, and trace amounts of hormones, enzymes, and metabolic byproducts. These are substances your body worked hard to expel. The notion that reintroducing them provides therapeutic benefit requires extraordinary evidence. And extraordinary evidence, despite decades of claims, has simply never materialized. Not a single randomized, controlled clinical trial has demonstrated that drinking urine cures, treats, or meaningfully mitigates any human disease. Not one. The World Health Organization does not endorse it. No national health authority in the world endorses it. The scientific and medical consensus is not divided on this question. It is unambiguous. And yet the testimonials keep coming. The before and after photos accumulate. The community grows. Which forces us to ask a deeper and more uncomfortable question: why do the experiences of so many people seem to contradict what the science is telling us? Why do people report feeling better, looking better, healing faster? The answer to that question requires us to understand something fundamental about human perception, about the placebo effect, about the powerful cognitive machinery that makes us extraordinarily skilled at finding patterns that confirm what we already believe. But before we get there, we need to understand the full scope of what is at stake. Because this is not simply a story about people making unconventional health choices. This is a story about cancer patients who stopped chemotherapy. About infants whose parents gave them urine instead of medical care. About infections that spread unchecked because wounds were treated with a substance teeming with bacterial contamination. About a community that has built an elaborate, internally coherent belief system specifically designed to immunize itself against correction. The science of why people believe in urine therapy is, in many ways, even more fascinating than the therapy itself. And to understand that science, we first need to take a hard, unflinching look at what happens inside the human body when this so-called liquid gold crosses the threshold back in. And yet, despite everything science tells us, the appeal of urine therapy refuses to die quietly. In fact, in the age of social media, it has found a second life more powerful than anything its earliest proponents could have imagined. Influencers with millions of followers post videos of themselves drinking their own urine each morning, describing it as a spiritual awakening, a return to nature, a rejection of what they call the poisoned modern world. Comment sections fill with testimonials. Communities form. And somewhere in that digital ecosystem, a person who is genuinely sick, genuinely desperate, genuinely searching for something that works, stumbles in and decides to try it. This is where the stakes become impossible to ignore. Dr. Akuapoku, a nephrologist at a major teaching hospital, has treated patients who delayed cancer treatment, abandoned dialysis protocols, or stopped taking antiretroviral medication because they believed urine therapy would heal them. She describes these cases not with judgment, but with a grief that is quiet and specific. These are not foolish people. They are people who have been failed by systems that felt cold and impersonal, people who found warmth and certainty in communities that told them the answer was already inside them. The tragedy is not that they believed something false. The tragedy is that something false was offered to them with such confidence, at precisely the moment when they were most vulnerable. The biochemical reality deserves one final, clear articulation. Urine is not a reservoir of unused medicine. It is the end product of your body's filtration system, and it contains what your kidneys have determined should no longer circulate. Urea, the primary organic compound in urine, is a waste product generated when your liver breaks down proteins. It is not toxic in small amounts, but reintroducing it into the body forces the kidneys to process it again, adding workload to organs that are already working continuously on your behalf. Creatinine, another significant component, is a metabolic byproduct of muscle use. Excreted for a reason. Various salts, hormones in trace quantities too minute and too degraded to have pharmacological effect, cellular debris, and in anyone with an active infection, bacteria, viruses, or fungi that the body was actively trying to expel. Drinking this does not fortify you. It reintroduces what your body has already decided it does not want. There is a particular cruelty in the marketing of urine therapy to people with kidney disease, which does happen. The kidneys are the very organs responsible for producing urine. Asking compromised kidneys to refilter waste they have already expelled is not a kindness. It is an additional burden placed on tissue that is already struggling. And what of the historical precedent that proponents cite so enthusiastically? The ancient texts, the Shivambu Kalpa, the Roman references, the folk traditions across cultures? Context matters enormously here. Many of those traditions arose in environments where clean water was scarce and medical understanding was genuinely limited. Urine was sterile compared to contaminated water sources available at the time, and applying it to wounds in certain contexts may have offered marginal antimicrobial benefit compared to the alternative of doing nothing at all. That is not validation. That is archaeology. We do not return to bloodletting because ancient physicians believed in it. We do not abandon germ theory because it was once unknown. History is not a scientific argument. It is a record of where we came from, not a prescription for where we should go. What makes this moment different from previous eras of medical quackery is the speed and the scale. A dangerous idea that once spread through pamphlets or word of mouth can now reach 10 million people before a single scientist has the opportunity to respond. Algorithms reward engagement, and nothing engages quite like the transgressive, the counterintuitive, the secret that powerful institutions supposedly don't want you to know. Urine therapy fits that template perfectly. It costs nothing. It requires no prescription. It positions the believer as brave and enlightened. And it is almost impossible to disprove to someone who has already decided that disproof is itself part of the conspiracy. Science, real science, asks something harder of us. It asks us to hold our beliefs loosely, to demand evidence, to accept that our intuitions can be wrong, to trust a process rather than a feeling. That is genuinely difficult. It does not provide the same emotional certainty that a community of true believers can offer. But it is honest. And in medicine, honesty is not a minor virtue. It is the entire point. The body is not withholding its own cure. There is no golden secret cycling through your veins that pharmaceutical companies have hidden from you. What circulates in your blood is being carefully preserved. What leaves as urine is leaving because your body, in its extraordinary complexity, has made a decision about what it no longer needs. Trusting that system, supporting it with evidence-based care, demanding better from medical institutions when they fall short, these are the paths toward genuine health. Not the recycling of waste dressed up in the language of ancient wisdom. Urine therapy is not liquid gold. It is a golden lie, and people are paying for it with their lives. Science protects us from elegant nonsense. That is not a small thing. That may be the most important thing. Join us soon for another documentary.